What's up, echo chamber? This mop is out of control. Gonna have to change that thumbnail. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, whatever. So, happy Friday, everybody. I hope you had a good one. I did. Got a lot of stuff done today. Went this morning for National Donut Day to have pastries with parents at school with my daughter. And she thoroughly enjoyed that, and it was fun. We went to go have like a quarter of a donut. They had them in halves, and I split the half with my littlest and let Addie have a half. And today, a lot of J.R. Smith talk, of course, and memes, and just hilarious shit. And, you know, people ragging on Kevin Durant for his crappy game. People applauding LeBron for his brilliant game. People hating on George Hill for missing that free throw. And just demoralized. They think the Cavs are demoralized, and there's a good chance they're not going to recover from it, but it's a doozy, that's for sure. And yeah, just can't wait for Sunday, see game 2 and how they respond. It's going to be a big game. I think they'll respond big. I think they'll make it another competitive game. And that's about it for the sports world. Off the top of my head, I don't know if there's any UFC fights this weekend. I don't think there is. Well, actually, there might be a UFC card tomorrow. Maybe Colby Covington and Junior Dos Santos. I'm not sure what weekend that's scheduled for, but that'll be an interesting card to watch. And what's else? Oh, today, Samantha Bee is a kind of a big thing I'm going to talk about. Probably eat up a good amount of time with this topic. Samantha Bee called Ivanka Trump cunt, and the world lost their minds. And she apologized. So did TBS. And then of course all the outrage about her losing her show comes on, and a bunch of nonsense. But that's just ridiculous, because she didn't say anything racist. I had a conversation today with somebody who said that she should sue for wrongful termination and all kinds of crud, and it's like, no man, like, or she didn't do anything illegal. And I said, people lose their jobs every day. You know, he said she didn't do anything illegal. It's something that happened in her personal life. Sue for shortage of hours, you know, loss of work hours, wrongful termination, blah, blah, blah. And I said, people lose their jobs every day over personal issues. And he came back and said, well, you know, like a DUI, you know, as an example, but that's not legal, but that's illegal, you know, doing something illegal, what she did wasn't illegal. Which I responded to, God damn it, stay. Which I responded to, we don't know what the contract stated with Roseanne. ABC knew what they were getting into. Maybe in the contract they stated we can terminate you at any time for any reason. Which it wouldn't surprise me if that was terms of the contract. And that, and it's something else. Who knows what the contract says. And oh yeah, and that you don't have to do something illegal to lose your job. I used to work at a grocery store to help people bag the people's groceries and help them out with it if they wanted. And I told him, I guarantee you, when I worked at that grocery store, that if I called everybody something racist that I was helping out, I wouldn't have been employed there very long. And he told me true, and then said something, and it was basically over at that point. But it just drives me crazy, because all she said was cunt, which is the same thing as pussy, which is the same thing the president said. So it doesn't make any goddamn sense. I commented today that had she used the word pussy instead of cunt, that there would be less outrage. There would still be outrage, but it'd be a lot less because the term pussy went out the window with the Access Hollywood tape. And so I don't think there'd be as much outrage, and I don't think Trump would have even touched the topic if she had said pussy instead of cunt. So, and unless there's a new definition for the word cunt, I'm pretty sure it's synonymous with pussy and vagina and box and whatever the hell you just want to call the woman private area. And yeah, it's really stupid. I mean, that's like, really? Just outrage over nothing, over any little thing now. And I think this is a very bad kind of trend we're going along. When it's racism, that's different. When it's racism, that's nothing that you should joke about, and especially over social media, because I feel that a lot of social media is kind of the same thing as like text messaging. A lot of text messaging gets lost in the context. You don't know exactly what tone people are saying things in. So to try to joke on social media, unless it's, a private message or, something, most of the time people are going to take something the wrong way. I mean, you can post something good and somebody's going to take it the wrong way. And yeah, I just think that being outraged over calling the president's daughter a cunt whenever it was about her posting a picture kissing her son, whenever we have children being taken away from their families just because they're trying to come illegally. So she just said what she said, and I laughed. I thought it was funny. It wasn't anything that's like it's not anything like the Donald Sterling incident. It's nothing like the Roseanne incidents. It's nothing like all these other people who just come up with all these racist rants. And it's sickening that it's even tolerated. That there are even people that defend it. The country's in a sad state of affair right now. Got a trade war going on. People think, oh, the economy's doing so great. Yeah, the economy's doing great, but now we're going to start paying more for items that are imported, which is most items. And obviously it's only from countries that we're doing it against, but that's just kind of the start. So we got trade wars. Oh, there's another thing. The North Korea summit is back on. There was like a big meeting today where the deadliest North Korean assassin, hitman guy, came. They had to go through all kinds of special screenings and stuff because he wasn't even allowed. He was in the do not allow in the country list, whatever that shit's called. And he came and delivered a letter to the president, and they talked for a little over an hour, supposedly. And they're talking about how North Korea wants to basically get out of the Stone Age. Okay, I can't say the Stone Ages, but get out of the medieval ages and actually have lights on at night instead of being a big black spot on the peninsula. And I can see a North Korea future that is like South Korea, prosperous, and don't get a bunch of parasites in their citizens, have actually, a standard of living, not all this brainwashing propaganda, give them freedoms to, that would be such a crazy, crazy thing to see in my lifetime. And I can see the beginnings of it maybe happening now if it does work out. Because, they're saying, North Korea has said lots of stuff before. Who knows if they're going to stick with it, if they're actually going to stop their nuclear program, whatever. And if they actually do it, I can envision a North Korea that is free and prosperous, but has Trump property and towers and investments of his friends and his friends' friends and his cousins and his cousins, nephews, nieces, uncles, brothers. Basically, he's going to make himself and his family and of his friends trillionaires by creating a North Korea that's prosperous, and it's going to give a better quality of life for their citizens. And that's why I'm on the fence about this, because I don't know how I feel. I feel like giving all these people, and it all depends on the level, if it's just a facade, if it's just, making people feel like they have free, anything they give them is going to feel like an immense amount of freedom. Any kind of little, links they add to the chain. But But yeah, and I don't know how I feel about that, to know that, Trump is going to make himself really rich instead of pretend rich. Of course he's not pretend rich, but you know what I'm saying. And set himself up. There's no way around it. It's crazy to think about the life that he's lived, to basically learned it from his father, apparently, from what I've found out recently, was that his dad would call a reporter and pretend to be someone else that deals with their finances, with the Trump family finances, and be like, oh yeah, they're super rich, and oh yeah, they got money everywhere. And it's kind of been the running joke, and it's actually got them to the White House, which is a really big joke. But you know, I think it's a blessing in disguise. And when he first ran for president, I thought it was a good thing because of all the stuff he was saying and doing, and I thought it was hilarious that he was showing what politics really is. You know, the system. You play it, and you can do whatever you want. You know, you say the things that people want to hear, no matter how horrible those things are. And then, of course, you know, as they got closer, and he was actually like the Republican nominee for the presidency, I was like, holy smokes, you know, it's not a joke anymore. It's not funny anymore. And I really thought that Access Hollywood tape was going to be it. I'll never forget that night. I had just gone out to the balcony of my shitty little apartment to get down and get super baked like I do on, you know, nightly. And I got super baked and super baked. Watching YouTube videos, usually watching, you know, Space Time, Kurzgesagt, PBS NewsHour, sports stuff. And then I get inside, and I'm blitzed. I'm like, I'm really pretty, you know, pretty out there. And then all this stuff comes out. Oh, Donald Trump, we got him on tape saying grab girls by their pussy, and I pop tic-tac so I can just make moves, and like, what the fuck? Like, it tripped me out. You know, I was super high and I was tripping. And I thought, this is it. This is it. This is the end. The way politics works, this is the end. And it wasn't the end. And that just kind of, the next day, what got to me, whenever they said, oh, it's locker room talk. And I'm just like, what? And like, even the whole country. And that's why I'm saying this is kind of like, you know, I'm talking about all this stuff because I want to say that he is a blessing in disguise. As much as I don't want to believe that, I think it is. Because even if he gets 2 terms, it's gonna have a ripple effect. And it may not be 5 years, and it may not be 10 years, but we're gonna look back at the administration and the era and how things changed so dramatically from Obama to Trump, that we're gonna be like, what the fuck were we thinking? You know, like, what was going on for us to even nominate basically a celebrity to run the country? And not only that, just a celebrity with a horrible track record. And yeah, I think it's, like I said, going to be a blessing in disguise. We're going to look back and say, man, what were we thinking? You know, but history does get repeated, so who knows? I don't think we're going to last very much longer anyways with how unsustainably we rape our planet of its resources and such. What's the word I'm looking for? We just destroy the fuck out of the planet. It's not even funny. And that girl that Joe Rogan had on his podcast, Candace Owens or something like that. I don't know, man. Them arguing, just hearing her talk hurts my head with how often she says like. Like, I want to talk to you like about like the things climate change is like not real, it's a hoax because Al Gore made billions of dollars like it that. Oh my God, I don't know how Joe Rogan was able to sit there and, you know, kudos to him for even inviting her to give her, you know, views. But man, that's painful. And I mean, not all the stuff she talked about was hard to listen to. I think she said, I mean, because I also heard her tell her story about how she basically got famous and yeah, ended up where she ended up. And she said like a lot, but she didn't say it the way she said it whenever she was talking about climate change. And I think that's because she doesn't know anything about it. She's just trying to defend herself in whatever way possible, and she's trying to fill up as much time and trying to cause confusion, probably, I guess. I don't know what the exact tactic would be with just doing something like that. Kellyanne Conway is like a damn Bobby Fischer of fucking coming up with those fucking eating away time and the whataboutisms. But holy smokes, man, like, I just did it. That's crazy. That's, like, hilarious. But for me, it was just like, that's hilarious. For me, it was just about how she wasn't willing to listen to the facts or even consider, like, not even being open about listening to the other side. Joe Rogan listened to her side, and she just, when Joe Rogan presented his side, she was just shutting it down, not even listening, really. She said, "Oh, .com, I don't trust it. It's a .com. It's there to make it's there to make money." So, what's his face pulls up .org, and she's just like, "Oh, blah blah blah, whatever." Just come up with excuses. And like I talked about the other day, just imagine yourself being in a big airplane hangar with a bulldozer, and you know you're in the area of a hangar completely sealed off, you know, no windows, no doors, you're in there, and you turn on that tractor to work in there without venting it. You might be able to work in there for a week, 3 days, you know, a month, who knows. But at some point, you're gonna start, the air you breathe in is going to be a detriment to your health, and it's gonna have so much different properties. The properties of the air are going to be so dramatically different because the air isn't going to be comprised of just nitrogen and oxygen. Mainly, it's going to have all these other gases that are in it that are not going to go away, that are going to be there unless we intervene or unless we turn off the tractor, and that'll just stop the creation of those molecules. And so now just imagine a bigger place. Now imagine a football stadium, a sealed dome, you know, football stadium that we didn't vent. You'd be able to work in there for half a year. You'd be able to work in there for, you know, a whole year. But at some point, it's going to get to where that air is bad and, you know, different. It's going to have different properties when the sun, if we had it sealed off but the roof was glass, and when we allowed sunlight in, we would notice very different changes in temperature, and you know, if we recorded it, we would notice these things. These are testable things that we can do to notice something is not right. Now just imagine that times, you know, 100 billion. We put hundreds of billions of tons of crap into our atmosphere every year, and into our oceans. The oceans absorb all this crap, and we are dramatically changing everything. It's not even just about accelerating the the, climate change. It's also about just the molecules we're putting in the air. Simple as that. Even if you don't think that what we're doing, all the crap we're putting in the air, is helping create stronger storms, hotter weather, more droughts, more plague and pestilence, then that's just really naive, because it's happening right before our eyes. And yeah. So yeah, just imagine, because that's essentially what the Earth is. We're a sealed system with the atmosphere. Of course there is some transfer between the, even if you had an imaginary, let's just say that the atmosphere was actually a membrane, there would still be stuff being transferred through that membrane. But we're basically trapped in this encased place, and we're pumping a bunch of crap, and it's changing everything. And even if you don't believe it's changing the climate, you're breathing it in, and it's making you sick, and it's giving you cancer, and it's bad. It's all bad. So yeah, that was just my spiel about how I felt about that. It's really heartbreaking. I saw somebody today, an article in Chemical and Engineering News or something like that, talking about how in Europe now they're going to try to do stuff to reduce one-time plastic use for certain items. Like, you go buy a cookie at Walmart and it's got, plastic on it, so one-time plastic use. And they showed a picture of a bird that died on the beach with a bunch of plastic stuff in its stomach. And it's there decayed, and it's showing, plastic tops, and it looks like there was even a syringe in there, like crazy stuff in this bird. And one of the commenters said that it was fake, that it was just plastic that naturally, the bird died there, and the plastic just naturally washed on the shore and got caught up in the bird. And I don't have words to put on how I feel about that statement. That's just as naive as you can get. That's all I gotta say about that. And it seems like a lot of people are really naive these days. The other day I saw a lady at Walmart giving her little baby, probably less than a year old, could barely stand up in the basket. She was there giving him soda, like, oh, here baby, drink this Dr. Pepper. Drink this stuff that even grown adults with fully developed, systems of all sorts have, that shouldn't even, be taking it in. And they're giving it to this little baby. Like, man, it's crazy to me. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that do it. And it's scary because, like I said, that stuff is so bad for grown-ass adults to be drinking. And, you obviously raise your kids how you want to raise your kids. I'll raise my kids how I want to raise my kids. But there just should be some things that are common sense. You don't let a kid walk around with a bag of chips, 2 years old, just walking around with a fucking family-sized bag of Doritos. You don't let little kids that can't even walk drink soda. That's just ridiculous. You don't do these things. Why do people do them? What makes y'all think that stuff's a good idea? It's not. My daughter is 6 years old and she's never had soda. And like I said, you raise your kids how you want, I'll raise my kids how I want. But I know that she is going to not have an issue with them like a lot of kids do. She probably won't even like it. When we were in Disney and they gave us some juice, some apple juice for them, I wasn't able to water it down as much as I wanted to, as much as I normally do. And she drank it and she didn't like it. She's like, oh, it tastes like tea. I was like, tastes like tea? And she's like, yeah. I didn't think anything of it. And then, you know, I asked the waiter for some more water so I can water it down some more. And after I did that, she took a drink of it. She was just like, oh, that's better. And it made me feel good, you know, because that stuff is so, you know, it's basically as bad as soda. It's so high in sugar. You water that shit down and it's still super sweet. It's such a, you know, this culture in America, man, is just intake, sugar, carbs, carbs that turn to sugar, carbs, sugar. It's just horrific. But gonna wrap it up here pretty quick. Want to get inside and spend some time with the wife. She's not feeling tired tonight, so no stories about family issues tonight like I talked about last night. Thinking about telling them tonight, if that made any sense. Because when I thought about them last night, got kind of late into it, and it's a long story. And tonight, just wanted to give my normal, what I want to talk about, that I witnessed throughout the day. And yeah, so gonna kill this bowl and hit a dab, and I'll catch you on the flip. Later, world.